Jima, 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 Jima.
The music that just delights my soul. I am so thrilled to interview our guest today on the Live Fit Magazine podcast. It's all about Kirtan. I'm Phoebe Chung-Chua. Today, it's a music lover's dream podcast. Live Fit Magazine was at a fundraising event recently, and that's where I first heard this amazing music live. Jason Rotman and his wife Pia have a band called Krishna's Kirtan, and they were performing at the yoga event called One Love San Diego, which was held in September in Del Mar. Now, we have a podcast with the founder, Kim Bauman. If you want to check that out, it's in our iTunes library. But right now, let's welcome Jason. Hi, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm very, very happy to be here with you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, well, I'm so thrilled to talk to you. I have to tell you, when I was at One Love San Diego, I was, of course, shooting, and we were covering the event and filming, but I was so captivated by your music. So for those of us who don't know, first of all, who Krishna is and what Kirtan is, would you explain both?
Kirtan is really the music of the ancient and modern culture of yoga. And the culture of yoga, has really gained a strong foothold in America, I would say, really starting in the early 20th century and really starting to really explode in the mid-20th century. And, yoga is obviously this timeless, ancient, kind of spiritual way of living. Yoga is not just about the postures that they teach in class, which a lot of people are probably getting more and more used to because there's so many yoga studios, which is a blessing. But yoga is more about one's consciousness and cultivating one's intention to live in a high, truthful, honest, and loving and compassionate way. So basically that's what yoga is all about. And most importantly, yoga means union, and union means between the individual person and God, essentially. So Kirtan is the music of yoga. So that was kind of a preface to the answer of Kirtan. And really the music of yoga is, the main spirit of that music of yoga is one of devotion. It doesn't necessarily matter how good your voice sounds or what instruments you're playing with. Kirtan is really a method of and a means of a group of people getting together and really just singing these sacred mantras that enlightened, gurus and sages and yogis have been singing for thousands and thousands of years. And they're very simple mantras, and they're all various names of the supreme, spiritual force or God or the divine or however you want to refer to it. And it's an incredibly powerful, easy method of just opening your heart and soul to the spiritual realm. And that's really a little bit about Kirtan. And as far as Krishna, Krishna is a name for God in the yoga culture. There's many names not only in the yoga culture, but in various cultures throughout the world. And, the real teaching is that it's not necessarily that, Krishna is different from Allah or Jehovah or all these names or Buddha. The ultimate teaching of these enlightened teachers that have walked this planet for forever is that God is one, and, the human being's highest purpose is just to find out their relationship with God, which is inherent in our life, and then just cultivate their own devotion. And that's really who Krishna is. Krishna is God, and Krishna is a name for God from the yoga culture. And Krishna, the definition of Krishna means the all-attractive one. So that's why when we sing Kirtan, it's an actual relationship that we're actually allowing ourselves by opening our mind and hearts to this person, God, or we're allowing ourselves to be pulled in or attracted to the beauty and benevolence and love that is God. So it's almost kind of an effortless process of singing and devotion, and that's who Krishna is.
And it is a beautiful thing when you hear it live. Tell us a little bit about how the Kirtan works, because it's an interactive style, isn't it?
It is, totally, yeah. I mean, that's really the huge element in Kirtan that you almost see a lot of modern songs taking cues from. I mean, a lot of these kind of pop singles are literally almost in Kirtan format because, you know, you have kind of the main chord or the main hook lyric, and then you hear this whole group, like, literally singing it in response. And whether that's influenced by Kirtan or not, it might very well be, but the point is that the method is from the timeless I guess, process of Kirtan, and the process of Kirtan is indeed a call and response. So it's not like there is technically, I guess, a Kirtan leader, but ultimately it is a group singing process where basically the leader of whatever Kirtan is happening, you know, sings a mantra or sings a couple mantras or sings a couple lines. And then there's this space where the audience fills in and just, you know, whether it's 5 people or 500, the whole group just sings together and sings in harmony and sings in unison and sings the exact same thing the singer did, but in response. So it's almost like this dance or this kind of dynamic experience of call and response singing, and it gets really, really ecstatic. I mean, it gets really amazing for everyone involved because the singer can sing the line and then really, you know, give, so to speak, and then receive these you know, sound vibrations coming from the souls in the audience, and then the audience can give their own hearts and souls by singing, and then take a break, and then listen to the singer and take in the mantras, you know, in their ears and hearts, and then start singing again. So it's really, you know, call and response is huge. It's not a performance. You know, Kirtan is absolutely not to be looked at as a performance where people just go to a concert and sit and listen. It's really, really all about group participation. So everyone can experience not only the hearing of the mantras, which are actually very purifying to your mind and your consciousness and your overall intention in life, but actually start to sing. Because singing is when you really start to dive in and forget about the outside world, forget about whatever temporary, you know, difficulties or troubles or misidentifications you're having, and really just get into your soul and sing. And with that spiritual intention, and really it's very magical.
And Jason, what I loved about it is you have a daughter, and you had her up on stage participating, showing that just everybody of any age, this very young daughter of yours, can be part of this.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, we have 2 daughters. We have an 11-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I remember when we started doing Kirtan, our 11-year-old was like 5, and we would go to these Kirtan events, and sometimes, and we would sing at them obviously, and sometimes she would kind of dance around with her friends and have a good time. But, you know, interestingly, sometimes she would literally fall asleep on the ground, and she would sleep through the whole Kirtan for an hour or 2 hours. But, I mean, I have to think that even just in the presence of Kirtan, she was, you know, her spirit was kind of receiving this devotion and this love that became so present in the room. Kirtan is very, very powerful, and our 2-year-old is already starting to sing. She's already starting to play music, and she's already getting the mantras down, and it's really, really just a wonderful whole process. And the most important thing is that it works. I mean, not to sound really, you know, utilitarian about it, but that is why Kirtan has stayed alive, because it's actually working. Actually, the more people get into it and the more people learn about Krishna or, you know, devotion and spirituality, the more they start to chant, the more they start to go to Kirtans, it actually works. It actually has this purifying, enlightening, you know, love awakening effect inside you that makes your decisions kind of more spiritually awake and kind of tuned in, and it makes you happier, it makes you more peaceful. And this is not kind of made up stuff. I mean, it's actually working for people, and it's really great to see. And that's why people get involved in Kirtan, and then all of a sudden they start their own groups, and they want to just share. It's really, they want to share the love.
We're living in a stressful world, and if you listen to, pop music or many different types of music, there's a lot of negative messages coming across. But in this, it's really peaceful. It's got that great, sound vibration, and it's got positive messages. How else are people benefiting from listening to the music? How would you say they're transforming their lives? What have you seen?
Kirtan, in this stressful world with many different things, flying at us every day, from traffic to bills to arguments to whatever. Kirtan is a way to go deeper than the surface concerns and tensions of this, material world, and go into your own soul and find out that you are an eternal being transcendent to your current physical body. You actually have a spiritual identity beyond your current physical body, and that spiritual identity is not empty, but it's overflowingly full, always, and ever expanding, actually, with love and bliss and knowledge and wisdom and joy. So, and that's real. So the more people get into that reality, which is who they actually are, then they'll find that these so-called stresses and struggles and stories of the surface world either start to disappear, or they see them in a different light because they're making the change and they're awakening from within.
Good stuff. Love it. I want you to talk a little bit about your diet. I know it seems off topic, but really it's not, because the mind and the body, the connection is there, and you and your wife both follow sort of a raw foods diet, correct?
Yes, my wife is still full on, hardcore, 100%, like all raw food all the time, and I'm not quite 100% anymore, but I'm a vegetarian, vegan diet guy, and I'm almost at 100%. Let's call it 80% raw food, and Pia is definitely still 100%. And she's doing great on it. And, we started, trying out, just having a little experiment, let's see how it feels to do 1 week of just like a raw food diet cleanse and see how that feels. And that was like 5 years ago. And after like literally 48 to 72 hours, we had more energy than we've possibly ever experienced just on a day-to-day basis. I mean, the raw food diet actually is just incredible. Instead of having, even literally instead of having potato chips, I was having a nectarine. Like a little switch like that can make such a huge difference. It may sound so simple, but that's literally how I started the raw food diet. I would just have fruit as a snack instead of cooked chips or whatever. The raw food diet has so much prana, which is a Sanskrit word for life force, because typically when food is cooked, sometimes it can be more digestible depending on the food, but also, studies have shown that cooking food can drastically reduce the actual nutrient content from a scientific level. So raw foodists are big fans of the whole theory that the raw food actually has more energy in it for the human body to use. It has more naturally occurring enzymes that help the foods digest. And people on the raw food diet, more often than not, do experience a constantly higher level of energy. And even from a spirituality perspective, having a strictly raw food diet or incorporating more raw foods in your diet versus processed foods can actually clear out some of the cobwebs in your mind, and it actually creates almost a constant meditative experience, because for whatever reason, how it works, the cleanness and purity of raw foods does have this kind of calming, peaceful, clarifying effect on your consciousness.
I couldn't agree with you more. We interviewed Mimi Kirk, who is one of the well-known, raw foodist, and she gave us her uncooked book, and it's just amazing, the recipes. I spent some time with her. We've got some videos coming out on the Plant-Based Diet Show, if anybody wants to check that out. She has just delicious food, even a lasagna that you go, how in the world do you do lasagna? But she does it, and she does it so well. So, Jason, this has been a lot of fun. Again, I love your music, love participating in it. I want you to tell the audience, how can we learn more? If somebody wants to get involved, and of course, if they want to participate, where can they go to join in with you?
If you want to know more about Kirtan and you want to hear our own music, just Google search Krishna's Kirtan or go to KrishnasKirtan.com, or actually go to Reverb Nation and look for Krishna's Kirtan. But most importantly, if you want to get on our kind of Kirtan newsletter, where we're going to announce the release of our new studio album done with the one of the main band members of the famous Bruce Hornsby Band, who's just a brilliant musician and a great soul. He's actually producing our album. It's going to be incredibly high-quality studio Kirtan music that I'm extremely excited to share with the world. That's going to come out very soon. So if you're interested in hearing any of this Krishna's Kirtan and learning more about the album and learning about where the Kirtan is happening, you can actually send me a personal email at jasrotman@gmail.com, and I'll send you all the good stuff. And if you don't live in California, still send me an email. But if you want to find out where the Kirtans are around you, I would bet that you could find them online. Just search Kirtan in your area and go to a Kirtan and start singing.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Jason. Really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing the music with us and all the background on it. I look forward to joining you at your next Kirtan.
Thank you. Me too.
You've been listening to the Live Fit Magazine podcast. Please visit us online at livefitmagazine.com, at our YouTube channel, Live Fit Magazine, as well as on Facebook and on Twitter. Until the next time, live fit, live well, live it up.